protests are continuing over last month's police shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown. Tension escalated over the weekend when a Ferguson police officer was shot in the arm in an incident that was unrelated to the protests. A new round of protests erupted Thursday after Ferguson Police Chief Thomas Jackson released a video apologizing to Brown's family more than 6 weeks after he was killed.
I want to say this to the Brown family. No one who has not experienced the loss of a child can understand what you're feeling. I'm truly sorry for the loss of your son. I'm also sorry that it took so long to remove Michael from the street. The time that it took involved very important work on the part of investigators who are trying to collect evidence and gain a true picture of what happened that day. But it was just too long, and I'm truly sorry for that.
Hours later, Chief Jackson addressed protesters directly as they shouted questions at him.
You don't have to accept that. That came from my heart. I had to get off that my chest. That's been sitting there for 2 months.
Why?
Okay.
Why 2 months?
Man, nobody want to hear that.
Why 2 months?
I know.
Listen up.
I know.
Why you violate sunshine? Why you people on paid leave? Why you people on paid leave?
After this exchange, Ferguson Police Chief Jackson accepted protesters' request to join their march. But almost immediately, his fellow officers began shoving demonstrators and creating what many observers described as a melee. A few people were arrested. The parents of Michael Brown told the Associated Press Saturday they were unmoved by Chief Jackson's apology.
I wouldn't talk to him. I don't want words, I want action.
The apology would be when Darren Wilson has handcuffs processed and charged with murder. They say that this is America, but we're not getting treated like we're Americans. Our fight here is just to open other eyes, to understand how we're feeling and trying to get something done about it.
Thursday was a very busy day with the apology, and then later on that night, it seemed like the officers instigated a fight. There was several arrests that night. One of them, a woman was even knocked unconscious by the police, and she was carried by her hands and her feet to jail. So Thursday, after Thursday, it was very apparent that we were going to have a very long weekend. That's exactly what we had. Friday, out on the protest site, it was very silent. It wasn't too much activity, and I think that's because everyone was tired, the protesters and the officers. But Saturday night, when those officers were shot at, which was unrelated to the protest, they were not anywhere near the protest site. Of course, it's horrible that people are shooting at police officers. That's never something that needs to happen. And it's getting very scary. It is raising the tension of the officers and also of the community. So we're not in a very good place. And even last night at the protest, we had what was called a White Allies rally, because we wanted to show that this is not just a black issue. This is a human issue. There were 8 arrests made last night. They dove into the crowd to pick people who they wanted to arrest based on basically prior activity and how they were acting that night. And things are still high.
To be clear, one of the police officers who was shot in the arm, he was investigating something at the Ferguson Community Center. Another was not a Ferguson officer, a St. Louis officer who was off duty in his own clothes, in his own car, on the highway, and there was some kind of drive-by shooting that broke the glass, and he was not seriously injured. And again, even the police are saying this is not related. I wanted to ask you about the photo that surfaced last week on social media that allegedly depicts a Ferguson police officer wearing the Am Darren Wilson bracelet in support of the officer who killed Michael Brown. Missouri Highway Patrol Captain Ron Johnson confirmed the bracelet's existence and said they were a personal statement for the officers wearing them. On Friday, the Justice Department Civil Rights Division sent a letter to Ferguson Police Chief Tom Jackson indicating he had agreed to prohibit prohibit Ferguson officers from wearing the bracelets while in uniform and on duty. The letter said Jackson had said he would make sure the other municipal agencies working in Ferguson would prohibit their officers from wearing the bracelets as well. Your response, Patricia Pines?
I certainly agree with that request. We are still having problems here with officers of the law being in proper uniform. On Thursday night, I personally observed officers not wearing their name tags. On Friday, I called the chief of police of the municipality that he represented and asked what's being done about this, since the Justice Department came out with a statement on Wednesday saying that officers are supposed to be wearing name tags. Last night, I cannot say this for myself, but the protesters said that they saw an officer wearing an I Am Darren Wilson bracelet. And I went and I spoke with the line commander and asked them to please investigate that. So we are still having problems with law enforcement showing up in proper uniform. And this is a problem. The seriousness of the I Am Darren Wilson bracelets is that it helps just incite and causes tension, which that's not a part of police professional uniform. So what they do on their personal time and how they choose to dress, that's one thing. But when we are in a situation with protesting, that's just not appropriate. And that was a very good call from the Department of Justice. But we're still having problems, and I am personally going to be following up and asking questions when I see officers without name tags on. I will be calling their chiefs of police and notifying the Department of Justice.